Come on, John, open your eyes. My client is not the only suspect in this case.
Really?
Gil Prescott spends half the night driving around in circles, brooding, and then he goes home and falls asleep in an empty apartment. How about Lee Carruthers? He's conveniently sleeping out in the country somewhere in some motel in East Hooterville. He could have gotten away from there and back without being seen. Amber Phillips falls asleep on the couch in a friend's apartment. The friend does not hear her leave at 6 o'clock in the morning. Though for her alibi, we assume the friend would have heard her leave around the time of the murder.
Look, Harold, I can do that too. What about Stacy Phillips, all right? She was alone in her apartment all night. What about Sebastian Knight? His alibi was he was with his wife. He could easily be lying.
He could be.
They could all be lying. Could be a conspiracy. Maybe they all did it.
Maybe they did.
Everyone except Dave Phillips, right, Harold? There is only one tiny flaw in your reasoning. And that is that everybody you mentioned doesn't have a motive. Or at least not one I can uncover.
Then that's my job, isn't it? To demonstrate motives to you.
Well, look, you can try. But I think you'd do better to prepare your client for the worst.
Hi. Hey, we don't need menus. If you would, just bring us 2 Reuben sandwiches and 2 Cokes. All right? Thanks. I guess that's okay, right?
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what we always get.
It's fine.
Now, if it isn't, I can call it right back.
No, Peter, look, it's okay. I would have ordered that probably. You know, sometimes I think we presume too much about one another, don't you?
Oh, is that what you wanted to talk to me about?
Yeah, in a way.
Well, I guess so, but I think sometimes it's all for the best.
Not necessarily. I mean, for instance, take our relationship.
Exactly. Take our relationship. We've wasted too much time the way it is. Now, I know this sounds presumptuous, but I can't wait any longer.
Peter.
That's right. Now, listen to me. I know that you might get a little annoyed, but I got some good news. I've arranged for us to get married this afternoon.
Get married this afternoon? Peter, no!
No, I worked it all out. It's gonna be great.
Well, what about the paperwork and blood tests?
Listen, I contacted this justice of the peace up in Perryville. You know that little town that's just outside?
I know where Perryville is, Peter.
Okay.
But
no, listen. We can get the license, we can get the ceremony right there. No waiting period. And as for blood tests, all you have to do is bring some sort of proof that you had it. Now, in September, I had a physical. So I went down to the health center there at the school, and I got a copy of my blood work. Now, you had a complete physical before you went into the rehab center, right? So I did a little bit of checking, and it just so happens there's a copy in Mr. Carruthers' office, right? So you just get a copy of the copy, bring it with you. What do you say?
Peter, this is all going so fast.
Fast, yes. But you don't have to worry about a thing. All you have to do is come and say, I do.
But there are still some details you haven't thought about yet.
What's left?
My job, for one. I have to work overtime today.
And you expect me to believe that if you didn't tell them what's going on, that they're not going to let you off?
With only 2 weeks before the election, that's exactly what I'm telling you. And what are we supposed to do about transportation? I mean, where do I leave my car? And what happens at 10 o'clock when I'm supposed to be back at the rehab center?
All right already. Look, I hear you loud and clear.
Look, Peter, I'm sorry, but we have to be realistic about this.
You know what's realistic, Vicky? I love you.
Peter, You know you're the best thing that's ever happened to me.
I don't want to hear any more excuses. Now look, I am to the point to where we do it, or we don't do it at all. And what's it gonna be? Yes or no? I love you. No one's ever loved you more than I've loved you. What's the answer?
Yes.
Look, John, I'm the first person to say that things don't look good for my client. But I honestly think he's innocent. And I really think you do too.
I would like to think that he's innocent. And there's a difference, Harold.
I don't know.
Look, even Dave Phillips doesn't know if he's innocent, and you can't tell me that drug he took by mistake didn't make him irrational.
I can't tell you because he can't remember.
Look, I have a reaction to codeine. I took it once when I was on duty. I lost my squad car. I tried to arrest some old lady for watering her lawn. And I went to Louis and ordered a corned beef sandwich. It just totally spaced me out. And I hate corned beef. Now, every doctor that I've talked to about this case says a personality change is perfectly consistent with an allergy to a drug. Okay? Paranoia, depression, anger, even a temporary psychosis they're all documented reactions, Harold.
And Dave Phillips' love for Kate is also documented.
Oh, come on. Yeah.
Hey, guys. Mind if I join you?
Sure, come on in. We were just talking about the Phillips case.
Funny, that's just what I wanted to talk about.
Is there any other subject to conversation in Kingsley these days?
So, anything new, John?
Nothing.
Well, not unless you count the fact that the trial date's been set.
And when's that gonna be?
A week from Monday.
Harold, are you gonna be ready?
I don't really have a whole lot of choice.
Harold is upset because I've been pointing out to him just how little Dave Phillips has got going for him.
Yeah, he's pointed out everything except for the fact that he's innocent.
Oh, wait, John, I thought you were supposed to be on our side.
I am on the side of justice. Now, if justice is going to be served, there are certain facts that I cannot ignore, or should I say, we cannot ignore. Number one, Dave Phillips was extremely upset about his ex-wife marrying another man. Number two, Dave Phillips took a drug which produced an extreme negative reaction in him, a reaction very similar to extreme inebriation. Now, it's a matter of public record that Dave Phillips has been hostile while under the influence.
Whoa, wait a minute. Come on, John, you know that was years ago.
And you're also arguing from a false analogy.
Perhaps. Number three, we know he was looking for Kate that night. And number four, Dave told Kate's maid that he thought she was at Amber's. And number five, he was at the scene of the murder and the gun wasn't even 10 feet away from him.
And number six, what I have to do is put in the minds of the jurors a reasonable doubt, and they can't convict him. And that's just exactly what I intend to do.
Peter, if you're absolutely sure this is what you want, then...
You will? That's great. That's fantastic. It's finally gonna happen.
Fantastic? What's fantastic? What's finally gonna happen?
We're gonna get married this afternoon.
Today? Just like that?
That's right. That's what we both decided.
Is it?
Sure it is.
How do you feel, Vicky?
I'm fine.
She's just a little overwhelmed at the thought of becoming Mrs. Peter Davidson.
Right.
Overwhelmed or unsure?
Gil,
Oh, I'm sorry, Peter. I'd like to hear it from the lady. As a friend, I'd like to be convinced that you're doing the right thing.
if you are a friend, knock it off.
Peter, it's okay. Frankly, Gil, I'm surprised you would use the term lady, seeing as how Peter's the only one who's ever treated me like that. If you'll excuse me, I need to make a phone call.
What's your deal?
Nothing. I'm just trying to be sure, that's all, pal.
Satisfied?
Maybe.
I don't know why I ask. I really don't care.
Well, you should. And you should care about what your family thinks and what your friends think. Does anybody else know about this little plan of yours?
No.
Are you gonna tell anybody?
No.
Well, that ought to tell you something right there, buddy.
It tells me nobody understands. And I thought you would of all people. You're supposedly in love.
I am.
Okay, well, what if Stacy walked in here and said, let's get married? She doesn't care about anybody else or anything. What would you say, huh? Try to tell the truth.
I'd say yes.
Okay. Well, that's what we've experienced. And I apologize to no one. How about that?
If Dave Phillips is found innocent, then justice will be served. Harold, I want you to know that I'm going to do everything that I can to help. Luckily, that's going to be pretty easy. My governor's assigned me to cover the trial.
Thanks, Gene.
Listen, I don't want either one of you to get the idea that I'm pushing for a verdict of guilty here, or that my investigation is any less than thorough. I would suggest looking into plea bargaining.
No!
Look, just hold on a second, Harold. If you can convince Dave Phillips to
Absolutely
accept the charge
not.
of manslaughter...
No, that would be admitting to something that just isn't true.
It'd be an admission that'd get him a lot less time in prison than the course you've got him on. And don't give me any of that reasonable doubt business, all right? We got an overly ambitious DA here who's dying to get on the crime commission, and the governor's gonna give it to him if he gets his conviction. You understand? I don't even want to tell you what's gonna happen if Carruthers gets to Washington, what he could do for the DA. It's rules of the jungle, Harold. He pushes hardest who has the most to gain.
You're sure? 15 points. Quote? Well, I hardly know what to say here. I really do wish that my Kate were here to share this. It would have made her very, very happy. Of course, I am very grateful for this lead, and I plan to continue what Kate and I started out to do. Yes. Thank you. Fantastic. Sebastian? Sebastian! Sebastian,
I'm sorry, Mr. Carruthers. He's at the mayor's office right now.
Well, we'll just have to celebrate twice.
Celebrate what?
Come here, my darling, I want to tell you all about it. You know that poll that the Kingsley Chronicle is doing and comes out tomorrow? They have me 15 points ahead of Wainwright at this point.
Congratulations.
Thank you. What's your pleasure, Vicky?
No, thank you, sir.
Well, that's all right. I won't tell your probation officer.
Look, Mr. Carruthers, I really don't think it's wise. I have an awful lot of work to do, so if you don't mind...
Oh, I do mind. Do you know what it means to be 15 points ahead at this point in the campaign?
Mr. Carruthers,
Lee.
please... Look, Mr. Carruthers...
Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, so far it's a dead heat. Half the people who were told they had to see Dr. Phillips said yes, and the other half said no.
Well, for everyone who didn't, I want to hear a nice big fat apology.
Really?
Dave needs you in numero 2, Lucille. Half and half, huh?
Yes, you know, and it kind of gets you mad, all the good that man has done.
Yeah. You know, I can only imagine how he must feel. Not that he feels all that great to begin with. You know what's funny? I end up responsible for the death of someone and nobody even cares. It's obvious Dave didn't have anything to do with Kate's death, and everybody thinks he did.
Not everybody.
Nobody that knows him, anyway. You know, I sometimes think it'd be worse to be in his shoes than it was to be in mine.
I'm finished with Mrs. Franklin. Listen, there's some sample decongestant tablets on my desk. Would you get those for me, please?
Oh, I surely will.
So, are you holding up today?
Oh, about as well as can be expected, I guess.
Good.
You know, I've been thinking our patients have an interesting choice to make. They can be treated by a doctor who's been accused of a crime he didn't commit, or they can be treated by a doctor who's accused of a crime he didn't commit. This clinic's getting quite a reputation. We're down, but we're not out, right?
I hope not.
Dr. Martin, is for you.
Oh, thank you, Ion. Ben Martin.
Ben, it's Doug.
Hey, what can I do for you?
Listen, I've got to see you. This afternoon, if possible.
Well, what is it?
Well, I'd rather tell you in person.
That bad, huh?
Listen, could I come by in, say, half an hour or so?
Sure, why not? Things were pretty dull around here anyway. I'll just see you then.
Yeah, okay.
Ione, if we should be so lucky to get another patient, I'll be in my office.
Don't you think it's time to stop this childish pretending? We both know what you want.
You can't honestly believe that. Stay away from me.
That's all very charming. I must warn you that I'll put up with this little act only so long. It's getting very thin.
Mr. Carruthers, this is not an act. I told you before, I want no part of this.
A lovely girl like you who's had very little attention paid to her.
Even if that were true, I still find this situation distasteful. Besides, I'm getting married this afternoon.
Is that so?
Yes.
To who? Oh, Peter Davidson. That little guy who comes up here all the time.
Yes.
He doesn't even shave twice a week.
Mr. Carruthers, if you don't stop this harassment, I swear I'll go tell Peter and I'll go to somebody with one of the papers.
Oh, Vicky. One word about what happens here, and I'd have to go to Judge Sawyer. You know who he is, don't you? Vicky?
Yes.
You do believe that with one phone call I could have you back in prison?
Yes.
Is that what you want to happen? Is that what you want to happen, Vicky?
No!
Well, then the choice is clear, isn't it? Oh, come on. Let's be a little more sophisticated about this now.
No!
No, absolutely not.
Ben, will you just listen to me for a minute?
I thought you were fighting for me.
I am, okay? But I just happen to agree with them on this.
Which means you don't agree with me anymore.
I didn't say that. In theory, yes, but in practicality, look, it just doesn't make any sense. The lawyers for your insurance company want you to settle out of court, right? If you don't, you'll lose your insurance after the case. It's that simple.
So I lose the insurance. At this point, I really don't care. Look, I just want to clear myself of the stigma of having done something wrong and saving Nancy Lawson's life.
Yeah, well, there's no guarantee that you'll even do that. I can't promise you what a jury is going to think, that they're going to think that you did the right thing.
Well, at least I'll have the satisfaction of knowing I tried. Excuse me.
Great. And that is all you'll have. Don't you understand? When Dan Myers gets you into court, he's going to demand more than what you're covered for. And don't you see that you're going to be personally obligated to make up any difference?
If he wins.
Yeah, well, I think that's almost an irrelevant point at this stage, don't you?
Are you telling me I should be looking for another lawyer?
No.
Well, then prove it. Make me believe that.
Even if you win, there's not going to be any insurance company on earth that's going to cover you. And you're not even going to be able to practice medicine anyway.
At this point, I'd almost welcome that.
This is where Owen conducts his business. Do you know that there's been a Dunsmore in Perryville for the past 49 years as a justice of the peace?
Oh.
Owen's father had the position before him.
That's very interesting.
What did you say your name was?
Peter Davidson.
How old are you?
19.
19. Don't look any more than 16 to me.
Leave the boy alone, Ethel. If he says he's 19, he's 19. How you doing, son? Owen Dunsmore.
Hi there, I'm Peter Davidson. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Sparky's pulling some of the sheets off the clothesline again.
Well, why didn't you stop him?
Well, he looked like he was having too good a time.
Well, that dog's good time means that you might be sleeping on a bare mattress tonight.
That was really an excuse to keep her from bothering you. Of course, I will have to have proof of your age.
Oh, yeah. Everything's in there.
Make yourself comfortable.
I'm fine, thanks.
Nervous, eh?
Oh, it shows?
Yeah. Looks like you have everything here, except the bride.
I don't know what's keeping her. I wish I did.
If you'll forgive a fellow for being nosy, why didn't you come together?
She had to work overtime. We just felt it'd be better this way.
So after I perform the ceremony, the two of you are going to drive off into the sunset in separate cars?
The plan has its drawbacks, yeah.
Well, you can fill that out while you're waiting for her to come. I have some chores to accomplish out in the back. Just give a shout when the bride arrives.
Hey, thank you very much. And I'm very, very sorry. Hope it hasn't been inconvenient.
It's just all part of the game.
Sure you won't change your mind and have something to eat with it?
No, thank you very much, though.
Have you tried calling her?
Oh, yes, I did. I tried a couple of times.
I'm sure there must be some logical explanation.
Oh, yeah.
You know, if I were you, I'd go out...
Leave the boy alone!
I'm only trying to help, Owen. Suppose I hadn't shown up on our wedding day. Well?
I'm just trying to find the right word.
Excuse me.